Avond allemaal, welkom bij weer een nieuwe Gente Mágica interview. Waarbij ik dus in gesprek ga met mensen die een inspirerend verhaal te vertellen hebben en die de passie voor Latijns-Amerika met mij delen. Vandaag heb ik het genoegen om in gesprek te gaan met Paola Perelli. Paola komt uit Uruguay en is in mijn ogen echt de beste ambassadrice voor Uruguay. Die kan daar alleen over doorgaan. Dus ik hoop dat we het redden in de 3 kwartier die we gaan praten. Zij heeft ook wel een heel bijzonder verhaal te vertellen. Maar daar komen we daar later nog uitgebreid op terug. Even voor de goede orde. Aan de zijkant, aan de rechterkant, hebben we de chatfunctie. Mocht u vragen willen stellen, dan... doe dat gerust, dan neem ik die vraag gewoon mee tijdens het gesprek. Daar kunt u ook aangeven of dat het geluid of het beeld niet goed is. En dan hoor ik het ook graag. En kijk ik of ik iets aan kan doen tussendoor. En onder het scherm is dat ook nog aan te geven. Nou, we gaan snel door. Ik schakel over in het Engels. Ik hoop dat dat voor niemand een probleem gaat zijn. Good afternoon, Paola.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. And you?
Fine. Thank you for the invitation to talk about Uruguay and our people. I love talking, you know.
I know we have been talking a lot during many fairs and all over the world, and especially in Latin America. Paola, first question. At the end of 2019, I was very excited because Uruguay was elected to be one of the top places to visit by Lonely Planet. So why does everyone have to go to Uruguay?
Well, we're a very, very small country, not only in terms of territory, for being in South America. You know, we're the second smallest country in South America, but also in terms of population. We are only 3 million people in the whole country. I remember my dad used to always say that he used to travel a lot to Brazil. And he always told us that the Japanese community in Sao Paulo, it's already 3 million people. So we're literally a neighborhood in a city of a country. So it's we're more cows than people. We have 12 million cows and 3 million people. So it's a small country that gives you an idea of familiarity, and it's very diverse. I would say one of the highlights of the country is the great diversity within very short distances. You can see the vineyards, you can go to amazing beaches, see the wetlands, the coast, the national parks, and maybe you just drove 100 kilometers in between one and the other. So that gives you, maybe in 1 week, that gives you a great diversity of different things that you've seen in the country. And also Uruguayans are very excited to receive people. So we love receiving people and showing our country. We're very proud of our country. So I would say that's one of the things that we love from Uruguay.
Yeah, because it's true, like you don't have like the big highlights. You don't have like the Iguazu Falls between Brazil and Argentina, or Machu Picchu, or like a very famous city like Rio de Janeiro. But the people who go with us to Uruguay, they mostly say to me, "Okay, I want to go back. I want to go back." So that's yeah. One of the things I always hear back from these people.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is that this is one of those countries where you can actually enjoy whatever you're doing. You know, you don't have to do anything. You know, like if you go to Argentina, there's so many must-dos that you have have a lot of things to do. Here, you can really, everything in Uruguay is about enjoying what you're doing, the present, like the now, the right now, you know, like if you're having a meal, for us, having a meal is not like having a quick meal. we spend maybe 2 hours having a meal. And we love the starters, and we love to meet the chef, and the chef is happy to come and greet you and say hello and tell you about his story. And it's about that. It's about people have time for you. And I think that doesn't happen in a lot of places. Well, right now we do have a lot of time.
Like everyone.
But in general, it's hard to find places where people will take the time to tell you their story and to listen to your story as well. And I think that's one of the things that make people fall in love with Uruguay.
Yeah, because I would like to go back on how you ended up in tourism, how it all started, and to go further with that. Only what you told me is that some like 10, 12 years ago, or maybe 15, but then the majority of the tourists that came to Uruguay, they were from Brazil and from Argentina. And
that's right.
And what I hardly could believe is that the average nights spent were 1.5 nights.
That's right, 1.5 nights. Yes, that used to make me crazy. I remember that. I literally had to convince people not to do the full day colonia from Buenos Aires. I had to explain that Uruguay was a different culture, that even though we do share a lot of traditions with Argentina, the feeling and the atmosphere in Uruguay is completely different to the feeling and atmosphere in Argentina. And we had to actually convince people to stay 1 night in Colonia or 1 night in Montevideo. But that has changed. Luckily, that was 15 years ago. 15 years afterwards, I have to say our average stay is between 7 and 10 nights. So that has changed completely. And also people, I think people are nowadays, they're happy to explore, you know, they're happy to find the secret places here and there. I feel that people don't really want to do what everyone does, you know, and there's always secret things in each country that are special. And Uruguay has a lot of that, you know.
So what would be the ideal way to travel to Uruguay?
Well, that actually depends on people. I usually recommend a lot to rent a car. This is a very safe country, very easy to move around. So if you like driving, this is like the perfect place. So you can, for example, pick up a car in Colonia de Sacramento, which is in the west. And that's a historical city. It's like a town. Now it has traffic lights. But we used to say it was the town with no traffic lights. And it has like a very the old city. It's a UNESCO site, so you can walk on the cobblestone streets, and it's like being in a very small, tiny town. You walk around. Then from there, you can go all the way up to Carmelo. There's this is the wine country. On the way, you can visit the Calera de las Huérfanas, which are the Jesuit ruins. The Jesuits were the first to plant vines in Uruguay 250 years ago. So this is how the story of wines began in our country. And then from there, you can go to a traditional estancia and learn a little bit about our gaucho culture and the countryside and the rural areas and the daily way of life in the countryside. We don't have a lot of countryside style hotels, you know. We have more, we do have, but the estancias are like the real countryside life, you know. You get to understand how people work the land, and there's a lot to learn about that in there, you know. Like they daily go to get their milk, they produce their own homemade cheese. It doesn't matter if it rains or if it's cold or if it's hot, you still have to go and take care of the cattle. So if you want to do this with the gauchos, you can do it. And they're always happy to explain what they're doing. And even if sometimes they don't speak English, they will make themselves understood with signs or whatever, but they will make themselves understood. Then from there, you can do the capital city, the Montevideo, which is where we have 1.5 million population, which for us, it's a lot of people. It's half of the country. And well, Montevideo is a beautiful city as well, with a beautiful river and the Rambla, coastline Rambla. And there you can learn about our carnival that I was just telling you about. We have two routes of carnival in Uruguay, one that comes from the Spanish, one that comes from the slaves that were brought from Africa. And also this brings me to the fact that we are a very, very progressive country. We have always been. And Uruguay was the first country to abolish slavery in the whole of America, for example. And since for us, the carnival and the candombe is like the music of freedom, you know. We're very, very proud of that. Our national hero, Jose Gervasio Artigas, his best friend, Ancina, he was a black guy. And I think that from our very, very roots, we learned that slavery was not good, you know. So we've always been very progressive. It was also the first country where women could vote, where divorce was legal. So
if I like they always said about the Netherlands, that we are an open-minded country, but basically it counts more for Uruguay.
Yes, I think we have a lot of similarities in that way. You know, you also have a lot of cows.
Exactly.
Your cows are. I remember, you know, like many years ago, like more than 25 years ago, I used to have a Dutch boyfriend, and I remember when I met his grandmother, and I took this beautiful book of Uruguay. And she looked at the cows and she said, "Ah, Dutch cows." And I said, "No, Uruguay cows."
Yeah, and then you have these nice beaches where you can keep your
the east of the east of the country. When you drive from Montevideo to the east, that is just amazing. All the sandy virgin beaches from, I would say, from the minute you leave Montevideo all the way up to the coast of Brazil. You have from Punta del Este on, it's the ocean. So you have oceanic beaches with emerald waters, and the waves is amazing. The coastal lagoons are amazing for kayaking and for kite surfing, and the ocean is amazing for surfing. So yes, we have a very long, beautiful coast as well.
Cool, nice to hear. It's a great country, and it's definitely worth visiting. Yeah. In 1998, already some time ago, you started to work in tourism. And first you did outbound, so you organized trips to Europe and the United States. And then, but it was already your dream to eventually start your own business in Uruguay.
That's true. Yeah, I had this idea, you know. I had traveled a lot. My dad also worked for the tourism industry, and I was always lucky enough to travel a lot since I was very, very young. And I went to Europe many times. We went to Japan, to China. We went to Thailand. We went to I have a lot of family in the States as well. And I always thought, you know, that if I had traveled so much and I still loved my country so much, not just because it was my country, but I could see it was fun and there were so many things to do. I couldn't understand why people would only do a full day tour to Colonia Sacramento and not visit the small towns and Pueblo Den and Garzón and the Estancias and all the amazing places that I thought were amazing. So I said, somebody else has to like this. So that's why I had this idea. And the other thing is I always thought, you know, well, if I'm selling the world, I have a market of Uruguayans of 3 million people. But if I sell Uruguay, I have a market of millions and millions of tourists that can come to my country. So
as a love for your country, it was also a smart commercial thought.
It was a combination, I would say. But everyone at that time, my dad thought I was crazy. I was like, and I love horseback riding. I just love horses and animals. So I had this crazy idea of doing a 7-day riding trip, riding from one place to the other. And I remember my dad saying, like, you're totally crazy. Nobody's going to come from the other side of the world just to ride a horse here in Uruguay, in the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
but they did. So in 2003, we finally got our first group. It was a beautiful group that came to Uruguay, and we did the 7-day riding trip. They loved the horses. They loved the diversity of what they could see. We did the wetlands. We did the coastal lagoons. There's a beautiful small village that's completely surrounded of sand dunes, and you feel like you're in the middle of the desert. So we went there. And you have one of the largest populations of sea lions in South America. So there's a lot to see, actually. And people are always very surprised, because they when they arrive to Uruguay, they don't really know what to expect. And I think that's a big surprise.
And were you one of the first inbound tour operators to offer trips in Uruguay, or how did it?
I would say we were not the first. There were many others before us. I think we were the first to do these things, the special things. One of the challenges that I found when we started operating these things was that there was nobody doing it. So I'll tell you 2 anecdotes. One of them was that we wanted to offer horseback riding trips, and we wanted to offer kayaking, but there, the only way to do it was having our own horses, having our own bikes, having our own kayaks. So it was not that I could ask somebody that was doing the activity to offer what they were doing. We had to actually operate it and do it ourselves, So that was one of the first challenges. We had to learn a lot about all these things that I loved to do, but we had to learn how to operate them in a professional way. And the other thing is, I remember one of my best clients nowadays in Germany. I remember he was a very respectful person from the tourism industry in Germany, and I was 24 years old at that time, and so I come and I tell him all these amazing things about Uruguay, and he was listening to me, and he said, Paola, I think all of this that you're telling me is amazing. I'm very excited. I think it's you only have one problem. Or 2 problems. And I said, okay, and what is that? And he said, well, the first one is, why, if this is so amazing, it's only you who's offering it? And I said, well, that I cannot answer. I'm sorry, but it's difficult. I just think I love these things, so I'm offering what I know that works. Okay, and the second thing is that you are too young. And I was like, okay. I said, okay, so for that second problem, I can tell you I'm working every day to change that situation. Every day I'm 1 day older. And but so I think we were not the first operator in Uruguay, but I think we were the first to do these things in a professional way.
No. And then after this first group you did with the horses, then it gradually opened up. You got more visitors coming. You did not only horses, but you did everything. So at one point you were like not guiding the passengers anymore. You were like managing the office. But then I
had to because I started guiding because I started, as I said, we had to operate all of these tours, and I had to train our other guides and so on. But then I also had to sell this, I had to travel to each one of the markets and explain what we were doing and what we could offer and what Uruguay had. And it was not just offering our services, it was just offering like selling a country, because as I said, people didn't have an idea of what to expect from Uruguay. So it was very challenging. So I spent, I don't know, maybe 10 years, probably almost 10 years traveling, showing. And so I was a little bit away from the guiding part of the business. Yes, like a lot of my colleagues have had this experience before, but I came back.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted to ask you, because then at a certain point you did something that not that many people in your position do, is to say, okay,
no, some colleagues,
I want to go back guiding.
That's true. Some colleagues tell me, why would you do that? Why would you go back to guiding? And I said, but basically I love guiding. I love being with people. And one of the things is that I really believe that when you guide, at least I don't know, at least a couple of tours a year, you can really understand what people like the most, what works, what doesn't work, what you need to change, what new products you can build, you know. So I think that's one of the most amazing things. A lot of the products that we offer, they were created with guests that we received here, and somebody said, hey, I would love to do this or that, and can you do it? And we were like, we can try, and we did it, and it went great, and then we opened it for other guests, you know. So I think that's amazing, and having the possibility to meet other people, to meet people from other countries, it's one of the things I value the most from my job.
Cool. And then with this, hey, with you going back to be a guide, and also the fact that you moved to La Garzón, changed something within you, and then you started off another project. You're probably going to tell us.
Yeah, that's true. When we moved to the east of the country, that was about 8 years ago. We moved to I live in the coastal part of the country, and again, one of the challenges here where we are, a lot of people used to think that being so close to Punta del Este, which is like an international spot in tourism, you would have everything. But the problem was that in order to operate what we needed to operate, we didn't have people all year round. We didn't have people that could actually maintain the service all year round. So we moved here. We started developing these new tours.
Just to sorry to interrupt you, but about Punta del Este, maybe it's good to explain a bit, because I think, hey, you said like Uruguay is not very well.
That's true.
Known, but to Punta del Este, a lot of people going already. So
that's true. Punta del Este is very famous. It's considered to be the beach area of South America in terms of exclusive. It's very exclusive, and it's very well known, and it's very famous for the beach. And for many years, a lot of celebrities would come to Punta del Este. This area grew so much that nowadays I would say it's like a small Miami. So it's changed, it grew a lot. It grew into a small city. And the exclusive part, I would say nowadays, it's the area of Jose Ignacio. You know, the tiny town of Jose Ignacio. It's considered the Hamptons of the Americas. You know, it has like this atmosphere, like some people say it's like a Saint-Tropez or something like that. You know, it's not so like a big city with buildings and so on.
Exactly.
So yes, we moved to this region, and so we started developing these new tours, and I started doing the riding trips also in this area. So I had the horses, and it was very challenging, you know, like moving here, still keeping the office in Montevideo, with everyone working there, and a certain time of the year I had to travel and to promote and everything. And I realized I needed a lot of help with the horses. So I started getting more and more in contact with the rural people, the rural areas, and the people that lived in the rural areas. It was actually quite fun. One day I was driving, and I was thinking about this, like, hey, I need someone to help me with the horses, and then I see this guy. He was moving a lot of cows just in front of me. He was riding, and I was thinking, like, it has to be someone from here in the area, someone local, like this guy, for example. So I stopped. I went out of the car. I come to this guy, and I say, hey, do you live close to here? And he said, yes, I live 2 kilometers from here in the countryside. Well, I guess you ride since you were born. And he said, basically, I'm a gaucho, so yes, I ride since I was born. And do you have time to do something extra? Would you be interested? And he said, sure. What do I have to do? Well, you have to ride. You have to help me with the horses. He said, yes. Okay, then come tomorrow in the afternoon to this place, and I'll meet you there. Okay, this is my number. So that was the first time that Franco came to this place, and he was an amazing guy, and he started working with me. Well, with time, he moved to the center of the country because he had his girlfriend there, and his cousin started working with me, you know, Enrique. And then a friend of his cousin, then another friend, and it was amazing because these boys, they were very young at that time. So we had this we had like an agreement.
Were they?
They were 15 and 16.
Okay.
And but we have sort of an agreement, you know, the government lets you employ people, I mean, guys that are not, are less than 18, as long as it's within the weekends or within the summer holidays when they don't have classes. Okay, so we had this agreement that they could work with me, but they were not allowed to leave high school, and it was a challenge, I have to say. It was a big challenge.
Why was that such a challenge? Because was it, you told me something before, is that like they leave school very early normally, yeah?
It's another world in the countryside, you know. In the rural areas of the country, children, they work with their families to bring food every day, because the cattle needs to be taken care of, and it's a lot of work, and it's not like the families can employ a lot of people, because the profits are limited. So the whole family works the countryside, you know. Some of the kids take care of the horses, some take care of the if they have to load a truck with the cows, everyone in the family goes there to help at 5 a.m. in the morning, and then after that they have to go to school. So it's another reality, you know. The children in the countryside, they have a lot more responsibilities than in the cities, you know. The statistics are heartbreaking sometimes, you know. Six children out of the 10 that quit school, I mean teenagers, are from rural areas, and it's not because, it's just because work becomes more important in their lives than attending school. It's just there comes a time that it's impossible. So at that time, I wanted them to finish high school, you know. Somehow it was important for me and for them as well. So it was a big challenge, but they got there. Kike is still finishing, but they're very smart. They're so hardworking, and as I said, it was a big challenge, and I learned so much from them, you know, because it's these kids, they would wake up at 6, maybe help their dads do something, then they would go to school. Then at the end of the day, maybe they arrive back home, and they had to still be working. Weekends they would come and work with me. I mean, it was a never-ending story for them, really.
And but so they loved working with you, because that was for them the incentive to keep on working with you and to finish the study. And now that they are finishing or finished the study, what are they going to do? Are they now going to start working, or are they going to continue studying?
Well, Tito, we gave him a recommendation for a 5-star hotel that's in the area here in where I live, and he's working there with helping with the horses as well, and so on. So I'm very proud of that. Victor also worked in the summer for this 5-star hotel. But now he's finishing the last pieces of high school that he needs to finish, because he wants to be a veterinary. So we'll see when the time comes for him to go to vet school, because he needs to go to Montevideo. So we'll see. My idea, if he continues with this idea and finally gets to vet school, my idea is to give him a part-time job at the office in Montevideo, so if he can pay for his stay there and continue doing his university career, which is actually amazing. I mean, for someone in the rural area, getting to university is not like the common thing, you know.
So that's for them. That was a life changer, but it also changed your life. You told me. So, in what sense it changed your life?
Well, it made us, not just me, but also my husband and the people that work with me. It's you get to understand how you can influence the lives of others with little things, you know, sometimes with some help or support or just encouraging. Of course, we gave them a job, but it was a two-way thing, you know. They were also very responsible, and so I think that when you realize how powerful you can be in the things that you do, and how many good things, how many positive ways of influencing other lives, then it's not just a possibility, you know. It's like almost something. It's like your responsibility to do it, you know. We started working. Well, one of the things we started doing is we started working with local NGO, with the local. It's called Fundación Niños con Alas. It's like flying kids, if you translate it into English, and they work in the education of children in complicated areas in Uruguay, and basically you can be a godmother or a godfather, and you pay for the 6 years of the education of a child. But not only the payment of the studies is the important thing, but you get to have a relationship with your godchild, and show them that all the possibilities that they really have, you know. And I think that is very important, because when you are born in certain areas and you don't see the options that you have, you know, it's very difficult. But if your education is granted, and somebody encourages you to learn another language, for example, for these children we pay English classes, for instance, because for me English has been always so important. I have been able to communicate with the world that I think it's also important for others. So we pay for the English classes and give opportunities, you know, like this, like a job, like a summer job, you know, and they learn how to do things, and then I think that's a big responsibility, that when you realize you have it, you understand how powerful you can be in a good way.
In a good way. That's the most important thing. And if you have like tourists visiting Uruguay, are they able to participate, or can they
Yes, of course. Of course, not everyone is interested in the same way, so we're very careful with this. But there's a lot of people that when they come and we're guiding, you share a lot from your life, and they share a lot from their lives. So yes, we have 2 godmothers that have got children in this NGO here, and in one specific case, for example, there's one girl that has a lot of problems. She was abused when she was very small, and she lost a ear, and her godmother, she has made it possible for her to be able to get to a special medical treatment that would have been impossible for her mom to pay for example, and now she's able to hear, basically, and have a normal life, for instance, and they send you pictures, and you interact, and you're there for them. That's all. In most cases, that's all you need to do. You know, we're talking about that paying the annual scholarship for one of these children. We're talking about $600, so it's ridiculously inexpensive. You know, you have to commit for the whole of primary. So for 6, you have to commit to this for 6 years. And I have to tell you, what they give you back is so much more than that, you know, because they are so grateful, and they are so so beautiful beings, you know. So it's if you think what that means in your life, okay, I don't go to the beach one weekend and I paid for the scholarship of a kid. It makes no sense, Johan. You know, it's a big thing.
And now they probably all will go to tourism education, and we are going to welcome a great new generation of enthusiastic guides and people who are working in the Uruguayan hospitality. So
I hope so. I hope so. I really hope so. You know, sometimes at the end of the year, last year we didn't do it because it was a very I was traveling a lot in spring. But the year before, we do it with the with the godchildren of these clients and the godchildren that we have in Niños Panalas. We do like a meeting and we share lunch. So we bring them from Montevideo and we go riding and for them it's like such a big deal, you know. Some of them had never ridden a horse before, some of them had never went into a pool. I don't know, it's amazing. So if they get to understand that they can show that, I mean, the tourism industry is amazing in that sense, you know. There's so many things. I mean, being a guide is great, and you have to study languages but everyone can do it if you like it, you know. So I think it's an industry that opens so many doors, can open so many doors to these children. So why not?
Now, as the people have been able to see, and the way I know you, you're very enthusiastic and a person who is happy. But still, if you could do a wish for the future, what would you do? What would be your wish?
Any wish?
Any wish, but maybe something.
I would if I could ask for any wish, I would wish that we could all have good opportunities in our lives, you know. Of course, not everyone is ready to do the same, but at least we should all have opportunities, you know. That's what I would wish for.
Yeah, so like education or healthcare should not be a matter of
and opportunities.
Yeah.
Being able, if you want to study a language, have the opportunity to do it. If you want to be a vet, have the opportunity to study to be a vet, you know. And I think that we are not all the same. But I think that's a big lie. We're very different, and I'm probably not willing to do the same that you're willing to do, and that's fine. That's life, you know. That's what makes us different. But what cannot be different is the opportunities. I think we should all have opportunities to do what we love in life.
And how do your three little friends look back to this adventure, and how do they look back to the opportunities they got?
I think they have all how do you say this in English? I think they have all been very responsible, and they have all grabbed their opportunities and did their part, you know. So that's why they're doing so well nowadays, you know. It's not just me giving the opportunity, it's them grabbing the opportunity.
They did it themselves as well, but they got the opportunity, but they took it.
And they took it.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. Now, it was a great story to hear, Paola, and it's always great talking to you. And it is almost as if I was in Uruguay again for a moment. So thank you very much. I was happy that you were my guest for this night. I'm going to change in Dutch for a sec. Dankjewel. We zijn aan het einde gekomen weer van deze aflevering van Gente Mágica. Ja, de volgende week om 7:30, zelfde tijd, Dan heb ik een interview met Jimmy Rogers. En hoewel de naam het misschien niet zou lijken. Jimmy die komt uit Guatemala. Ik ken Jimmy ook heel goed. En die is ook heel enthousiast. Niet alleen over Guatemala, maar ook over de archeologische sites. De Maya sites die daar liggen. Die nog bedekt liggen voor een groot deel onder het tropisch regenwoud. En samen met Jimmy ga ik in gesprek met zijn vriend Francisco Estrada Belli. En Francisco Estrada Belli is een archeoloog via, ze noemen dat dan het officieel Nat Geo Explorer van National Geographic. Hij is verantwoordelijk voor de Honmu, een Maya-stad, diep in de jungle op de grens met Belize. En daar is de afgelopen jaren enorm wat gebeurd met de nieuwste technieken. Hebben ze dus ontdekt dat er daar geen 1 of 2 miljoen mensen hebben gewoond, maar waarschijnlijk 15 tot 20 miljoen mensen. In complexe steden die nu helemaal overwoekerd zijn door tropisch regenwoud. Dus daar komen we volgende week op terug en hopelijk zijn jullie er dan weer allemaal bij. Ik dank jullie wel voor het kijken. Once again, Paola, thank you.
Thank you, Johan, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to tell the story and to tell everyone about Uruguay. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
And I hope we see each other in real very soon again. Thank you very much.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Bye. Tot ziens allemaal. Hoi.